think the mistake that parents make is they want their Seder to always look a certain way, and depending on your guests, and depending on the grandparents, and depending on the ages of your kids, it's gonna look different, and it's allowed to look different.
Welcome to I.M.P.A.C.T Today,
the podcast where we explore important messages for parents and children together. I am Avital Getz.
and I am Binyamin Getz.
Of Growing Impact Publications. Join us as we dive into the books written by Mrs. Bracha Getz,
My mother,
and my mother-in-law, best-selling author of 40-plus children's books, including Let's Stay Safe and Talking About Personal Privacy. We'll be bringing you a behind-the-scenes tour, uncovering the joyful and important messages hidden in each unique book, and we'll learn how to utilize these books as tools in our parenting and in our own lives as well.
Hello, welcome to I.M.P.A.C.T Today. What a treat to be here with the amazing mechanech, Rabbi Ari Schonfeld, who is a very talented, accomplished mechanech, Menahel Yeshiva of Ketana in Manhattan, Rosh Mossad Bais, Tzipra
There you go.
in Manhattan, Director of Camp Aish,
And most importantly,
co-host with Mishpacha, the Learning Curve podcast. What a treat to have you. Thank you for joining. And today we're going to bring about the topic of getting ready for Pesach and Pesach itself, how to mechanech our children the best way that we can, as Pesach is a time for being mechanech our children after all.
it is. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Pleasure to be in Houston. Happy to join.
Thank you so much. So maybe even before we get to the Seder itself, which is the breeding grounds for chinuch, really, the God to Levincha, I feel like the chinuch starts obviously the whole year, but these weeks leading up to Pesach is so many opportunities of chinuch, even in that, where we prepare and don't eat this, don't go, that room's blocked off. It can be very restricting. And parents are tense. And situations could be tense, understandably. But still, we have to be mechanech. So before we get to the Seder, how do we prepare for that even in a chinuch way?
So, again, thank you for having me on. I think your mother, Mrs. Getz, right, and my father worked on a book together, on a project together. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Well, let's be honest about chinuch. I think the question itself is half the answer. I think so often we as parents and even mechanical and educators, we're not ready, and therefore we don't even recognize this is going to be a difficult day. This is going to be a difficult time period. And when you're not ready for the tense situations, then all of a sudden it hits you like a wave, and therefore you react in a way that you shouldn't. I think just the fact that we as parents know that as soon as we lock off the basement from food, right, that's almost like the demarcation.
Upstairs, the bedroom.
Upstairs, the bed. Well, as long as there's no more food in the bedrooms, that's like a sign of mommy and Abba and daddy, we're stressed. So it's like get out of jail free card. But I think it's important. It's okay for kids to know that, I don't, the word stress is obviously a negative word, but there's a lot going on in the next few weeks. From Purim to Pesach is a very busy time. Cleaning, it's definitely a crunch time financially. We hope our kids don't hear that from us, but there's a lot going on. If you're Baruch Hashem, a person's making a simcha, making a chasna, so they know the few weeks before the wedding is tense, but everyone knows that, and therefore they embrace that. It's life. I think if we're able to be ready for it, that itself, so then when things are a lot, we're not shocked, we're not nervous. That's life. Life is sometimes very light, and sometimes when you're on vacation, life is chilled, and when it's before Pesach, life is tense. There isn't a way to unpack and to reorient that. It's tense, and I think it's okay to be tense.
Yeah. And
this year it doesn't kind of it's not a surprise that it's going to be Pesach, meaning you can plan, like you can have a mindset.
Try to plan.
You
could try to
You
plan.
don't know how it's going to be, but every year it's this time.
Right, and every year that's time, and everyone knows that at this time, that there's less, whether it's free time or you're busy around the house. I think we sometimes try to we're not going to be tense this year. We're gonna, and you are, you're going to be.
And just knowing
but
that
you could plan better.
is half the battle.
Right, you could plan better, but there's expectations there for our children. We're allowed to have different expectations. We're much more makbid on what they bring upstairs into the bedroom, and no food, and they have to start cleaning and getting ready, and all of that. But looking back at our childhood, my memories of my grandparents and my parents, forget the Leil HaSeder itself, cleaning my father's study with all of his svarim was the bane of my year. Hated it every year. But the memories are still of every single Seder gets pulled out and opened and
Even in the
shaken.
tents, you still have positive memories.
Correct.
Wow.
Because that was Pesach.
Beautiful. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned right at the beginning, our podcast is called Impact today because these are important messages for parents and children together because
There you
we're
go.
in this together during these busy times. So this is very helpful. Okay, so let's get to the Seder itself.
Yeah.
The Seder itself, we prepared, we have a plan, which can go like this, we have certain expectations.
Right?
And to the truth, it's our first Seder that we're really doing as
Okay.
our children. We've had a few before for different reasons. But this is thought out, and we're looking
This
forward
is
to
planned.
this. Yes.
It's going to be tense, I'm warning you.
Yeah. So we're gonna have all these things planned up, but we want it to be a relaxed environment to be mechanech our children, and they're gonna have all their things from their motors and teachers, and we're gonna have our plan, and it's gonna be so much time and effort built up to get to this point, and 2, 3, 4 weeks, months of advance preparation built up. So we have our expectations, and half the battle is realizing this. That's already half it. But how can we do our best at the Seder to mechanech, do the mitzvah of Yigat to Levincha, to impact our children in the most profound way on that special night?
So I think one of the mistakes that we make is we think there's one way a Seder is supposed to look. And I grew up a very traditional Seder with my father. My grandfather would join us. My father led the Seder. And I have incredible memories. Probably my best memories as a child is my father's Seder. And my wife's family is the entire opposite. They get together, all the first cousins. The Seder growing up was 50, 60 people with all the aunts and uncles. And I don't want to say it's chaotic, but it's an entirely different experience. Our Seder was more about Magid, and their Seder was more about Hal and Nirtza. And now that I got married and I experienced both, and then I've made, COVID helped. I made my own Siddharim starting then. We've had different experiences, but it really, I think the mistake that parents make is they want their Seder to always look a certain way, and depending on your guests, and depending on the grandparents, and depending on the ages of your kids, it's gonna look different, and it's allowed to look different. There are years that we've gone to hotels with large families, and if that's the scenario, then yeah, my kids who prepared a lot of Divrei Torah will not get to say as many Divrei Torah at the table, and however, they have an incredible, rich experience singing the Manashtana, singing the Hallel with the family. It's different than when you have a very intimate, small Pesach Seder, and then your kids say every single Dvar Torah at the table. And
The COVID one was that intimate. Everyone loved
we've
that
had
one.
since then. And I struggle with this as a parent because I have my children. I want them to be the focus, but I'm also having my brother-in-law, my two siblings. Last year we hosted 35 people for the Seder. It was four siblings came, and when that happens, you are sacrificing individuality. You just are. You're gaining instead a different type of yontif. So I think again, it's about preparation, but knowing going in this Seder, if it's you and your wife and 3 children, then tonight could be very different than when we're at Bubby and Zaydi's Seder. That's number one. And number two is, and this is to me, as a parent, we have to realize when it comes to our children's Dvar Torah, we know almost every Dvar Torah the kids are going to say. You're going to know that Elazar Nazario was 18, and Kiv and Shimon Shana, right? All of those Divrei Torah, and as a Rebbe, you can maybe appreciate this, that you know Baruch Hashem the I.M.P.A.C.T, you know Kriya, you know Bereshis, right? But it's their first time.
Third time to
right?
shine.
It's their time to shine. And the mistake we make as parents sometimes, we'll finish a Dvar Torah for them. We'll say, "Oh, I know that one." Let them. If it's about them, and the more, maybe the smaller your Seder, the more patience you can have. But if you allow your children, they spend. You're a Rebbe in Yeshiva. I'm a Menahel in Yeshiva. It's weeks of preparation, weeks in Yeshiva of writing the Dvar Torah. My daughter told me she's all nervous because they're only up to Magid and Pesach's in 2 weeks, and she's in 5th grade. All they do is spend time preparing for the Seder. And don't jump the gun. And maybe you could do limits. If you have every kid sing over every Dvar Torah, then you might never make your own Seder again. So it's okay for the kids not to say every Dvar Torah, but when it's their moment, allow it to be their moment. There are families that have when it comes to the makas, they play games, right? That there's every family has their
Glasses,
classes, everyone has their shtick. And how do you do the afikomen? I think the shtick. I think if you try to commercialize the shtick, and Amazon the shtick, you're killing it. It will happen. Whatever your father did, you'll tweak it, you'll move it. Um,
These are great tips. This is very helpful. This Shabbos, we always have a custom. We do it to keep the kids involved. At the Shabbos table, each child goes on and shares something about a word about the parsha or something. I
Right.
got this idea from my father, and they always have something to say. It's a word that has to do with really anything, but it always ties back to the parsha.
okay.
And the word was, we sort of veered off this week, as a few weeks getting ready for Pesach now. Is how have you prepared, or what have you learned so far about Pesach? And they're already starting in school.
Of course.
Then they're pumping up their teachers, saying this is going to be a great Haggadah. So they're being so psyched when they come to that Seder. And you're like,
They're much more prepared than especially parents that are not in chinuch, that are unlucky as we are. The parents are not. The father pulls out a Haggadah, maybe Erev Pesach, but most parents don't have the time. Their kids are in Pesach mode. They come to the Seder. The kids know they're manashtana. They're like pumped.
Yeah.
And you're maybe tired or you're not in the mode, and that's parenting.
I think that's such an important point. They've been building up for weeks about this, and just give them the ear, even though you have all your plans in place. Just give them smile, make eye contact, just listen for that. It feels like forever, but it's literally 2 minutes, and each kid needs their short time. I think that's so valuable.
I will share though that so many things that happen at my Seder are divrei Torah that I heard from my father, that he says the same Torah every year, right? It is Vigat Levincha, it's not Vigat Levicha, right? So part of the Vigat Levincha is through questions and answers, but it's your Seder. It's not, it's not your child's Seder. And therefore, you have a certain Dvar Torah that you want to share from your Rebbe, from your father, and you have the songs that you want to sing, and the more that, and it should be the same every year. Every family, some people, this year we're going to do the Ger Haggadah, next year we're going to do the Moshe Feinstein Haggadah. By us, it was every year the same Dvar Torah at every single point in the Haggadah.
Beautiful.
And we look for, here comes that part, and I say it over now to my children.
So how do you balance that God to Levincha? If they're sharing all of their things and they're teaching you, obviously what you know already, but they're teaching you, but you're supposed to be conveying it to them, our Masorah. So how does that?
Of course, it's age appropriate. It's much harder to convey a Masorah to a 5-year-old than to a 15-year-old. And then when you have a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old at the table, that's trickier. That's tricky. But you have to find moments in the Seder. You have to be engaged. And I think if you're engaged as a parent, you'll have the manashtana is where the kids shine. Most of Magid, the kids are not going to be sitting at the table. And when you get to all the psukim, right, and the kids are not going to be sitting at the table. During Shulchan Aruch, the kids are probably not sitting at the table. So you'll find the pockets where you'll have your conversations with your older children, and then there'll be the moments where the little kids shine. But like everything, prep hachana is half the battle.
You can't expect the 5-year-old or the 10-year-old, whatever, to be there 100% of the time.
Right.
They might leave for some of it, and this one, then you'll gear in on that one, and
Right.
different parts they'll appreciate different ages.
Right.
This is very helpful. Any other
There's
pointers?
so much to think about. I think part of it is just starting to think about it now in advance and coming prepared, like not just showing up at the Seder to be like, okay, now what am I
Right.
doing?
Right. You also have to really, and sometimes parents aren't cognizant, as we keep saying, the kid, this is like, part of preparing for the Seder as a parent is preparing for the fact that it's my child's moment. And then he or she is just waiting, whether she makes that afikomen cover that, bag that you don't really like, and you're going to put in your afikomen there anyways, or whatever it is that they're going to do. Even the fact that they get to make kiddush and they have grape juice and they have their own becher. When does a kid get their own glass or becher, whatever it is, plastic, however you do it in your house? It's very exciting to drink their own grape juice. Who gets their own grape juice, right? You get a little. So everything with the
kid's
Seder,
mind,
as a kid's mind is
huge.
and the most important tip I think Turkmen Achana is make them sleep, Erev Pesach, or else
Take
they
a
won't
nap.
stay up. But it's actually Gemara. The Gemara talks about getting kids to sleep on Erev Pesach. And maybe you yourself also we should all take a nap if we can.
It's a great,
Erev
yeah.
Pesach.
I always looked forward for that marshmallow. If I take my nap, I get the marshmallow. So
Yeah.
it's a good tip also. This is extremely helpful. Thank you so much. And we hope you enjoy these messages and bring them to your Seder. What's helpful for your family in your setup as it is.
Thank you.
Seder may be in Yerushalayim.
Amen. Rabbi Schonfeld had wonderful points that he brought up. Having the right mindset, coming into Pesach, coming to the Seder, And we have a couple more tips for different age groups, different family setups, how can we go practically, how we can practically help each child get the most at the Seder during the Seder, because it is long. And here are a few tips.
Yeah, I mean, we're newbies at it, but one thing that we were discussing is that as we prepare for Pesach and as we do all the cleaning, something to keep in mind is once we get to the Seder, once we get to Pesach, that also needs preparation. So it's something that's easy to just put on the back burner, but something that we need to keep reminding ourselves as we prepare for Pesach this year is we also want to prepare for the Seder, for the whole Yom Tif, of how we are going to create an energy and a vibe that our children want to be at the Seder with us, that they want to stay at the Seder with us, that they want to come to the meals and be participating and active participants of the whole Yom Tif. We talk about this for Shabbos as well, that if we just come to the Shabbos table, just come to the Yom Tov table, we need to come prepared of how we're going to actively engage our children in order for us to see our children actively engaged. So that's what we're learning in our parenting. And so we just want to share just a couple ideas with you guys. We'd love to hear from you if you have more ideas because we're looking to grow in this. But one thing that we were thinking about was leading up to Pesach, have our children be a part of creating the interaction, meaning Makos puppets, right? We can buy different supplies at the arts and crafts store or Amazon, and we can say to them, as one of their Pesach preparation projects, here are brown paper lunch bags, here are googly eyes, here are stickers and markers, and your job, children, is to create 10 Makos puppets. And that way they're excited, they're actively engaged in it, and they're taking ownership. And when it comes to the Seder, they are going to be counting down the minutes until it's time for them to take out those 10 Makos puppets, guaranteed. It's their part of the Seder that they had an active involvement in. And I think that will really create an extra level of excitement and participation for the children.
So even though they're coming with stuff from school, that at home we need to create an environment as well where they're excited to bring their things, and we're going to instruct them when that's going to become available, when they're going to pull out their thing that they themselves created at home for the Seder.
Yeah. And the older kids can help the younger kids. That was just one idea that we had.
Cool. We wanted to possibly decorate the room to look cool for the Seder itself, Yom Suf related. Um, yeah, some other ideas that we thought about. And again, you have to apply this to your kids, your age appropriate, what works best for you, or take it or leave it. Um,
The Seder's long. I don't think they're going to stay the whole time, but we were thinking once they leave the table, they can go and they can play, or we can also give them a job to do in their play, meaning we can task them with, hey, while you're playing, let's see if you can come up with a skit together. And skits we found can include kids of all ages. The older ones usually lead the younger ones, so it gives them a leadership role. And we can task them with a certain part of the Pesach story, like, I don't know, what would you say?
Act out the Makos. One person's Paro, one person's Moshe, and Aaron, and then they could come and say, okay, you won't let them go, so we'll get the blood and this, and the difference between a Jew and a Mitzri. They can act that out for a couple of the Makos, or however many work out well.
Different props, you can help them. But I think that kind of just gears their playing, that they're still involved in what's happening at the Seder table, even if they're not actively sitting there quietly. You know, if it's a long reading time or whatever it is, this is just something that it kind of focuses their play to still be in line with what the adults are doing.
Yeah, it can avoid the struggle of come back now, we're up to the next step. Oh, they're all busy with a different game, and they have to like pull them away from their game that they got busy with. Instead, their game is actually sort of part of the Seder now, and it's all one. So, and it all feeds into the same idea of what we're doing at the Seder.
Those are just a couple ideas. We'd love to hear from you if you have other creative ways to keep your children engaged in the Pesach Seder or throughout Pesach for the day meals as well. Yeah, we're excited to see how this year goes, and we wish you all a beautiful Yom Tov together with your friends and family.
Chag kosher v'sameach.
Until next time.
Thank you for joining us today. You can head to growingimpactpublications.com to book Mrs. Getz for an in-person or Zoom presentation, consultations, and to find her books.
We love getting your feedback as well. You can email us at info@growingimpactpublications.com. And you can hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.